welcome back to part 3 from Tragedy to Triumph. Sorry for the delay with this video. Like I said, I'm working a turnaround, so I don't really have very much time after work to get much accomplished, but got a little bit of time today to give another part of the story. So I just want to thank everybody for sticking with me. If you're back here watching again, I appreciate it. I've been getting some feedback. I feel blessed that people are, receiving a message from my story. That's the chief aim of this whole thing. It's the only reason that I'm really compelled to do it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be putting it out there like that. This is still kind of crazy to me that I'm doing all of this, but I just want to thank everybody for watching. Just to get right back into the story, I started feeling the way that I was feeling after Steve passed. Basically, how I'm starting to not care about a lot of things that I did care about before, and it's getting kind of extreme. Still, no thoughts of, no ideations or anything like that. But I am starting to kind of go even darker with it. Like I said, I feel like God has a grudge against me, so that's just kind of how I'm living at that point in time. It's just crazy that at that same time that I'm feeling like this, like I said, I'm building this exterior because it just feels like life is pain for me, really. Life is confusion. So I'm trying to develop this hardened exterior or whatever, but I'm still, at the very core of me, like I'm still joking around with people, and I'm still, when people are going through things, I'm trying to uplift them. I'm speaking life into them the way that, like, Uncle Earl is speaking life into me. And so it's real, like I'm being tugged, I'm being pulled all kind of different ways, it feels like at this time. I don't know which way I'm going. I don't know which way I'm coming from. I know I'm just trying to fill that void. That's all I'm really kind of concerned with. There's a void there, and I tried ignoring it, and that didn't work. And now I'm trying to fill it up with something. I'm trying to, whatever is gonna make me feel better, that's what I'm doing. I want to fill that void. And unfortunately, most of the things were negative things that I was trying to fill that void with. I just started really like deteriorating. After Steve passed, it seems like it was just a more rapid deterioration for me. I want to say like within the next year or so is when I finally reached my capacity, and I finally, everything came out, and pressure bust pipes basically. I had my explosion moment, or however you want to label it. We'll get to that later. But it seems like a rapid deterioration at this point. Like my relationship with my grandparents, they're starting to deteriorate. Like I said, my grandfather and I, we would work together. Pretty much anytime anything would go wrong at the house, it was an old house we were growing up in. Anytime anything would break or anything like that, we'd go and fix it. So I'm doing carpentry, plumbing, and I've been doing this since I was like 8 or 9 years old is when he first taught me how to use a screwdriver or a wrench, or I feel like I was about 8 or 9 years old. So I've been doing this for a while with him. And it's not just when stuff would break. We'd also have projects. We were always working on something. Like there was always something to be worked on. He would sit there, he was blind, and I guess he had visions. Like he could envision some stuff and bring it to life. It's amazing how he would do that and keep it all in his mind. But me and his relationship is deteriorating now. Like I'm mouthing off to him, and I quit working with him one time. We bumped heads, quit working with him. With my grandmother, I'm being much more rude, and like I said, I think in one of the videos I mentioned how I might have, like I called her that she might be a racist. And I'm just getting mouthy, I'm getting real slick at the mouth and stuff. And it's just like a rapid deterioration. It's going downhill. But like I said, my peers, they wouldn't have noticed it. And we're all young at this time, 15 years old. Getting ready to be 16. All right, just made 15. So it's not like anybody that hadn't gone through similar circumstances would be able to recognize what I was doing, what was happening with me. But I feel like I would have noticed, and I'm not trying to knock anybody, but I feel like I would have noticed the deterioration. I feel like I'd have known, even like after the funeral, after Steve's funeral, I went in the back room and I got drunk. I had got into my grandfather's bottle of wild turkey, nastiest stuff I ever tasted. But I was like, I'm about to try it. Everybody talks about getting drunk and how it's this wonderful thing or whatever. I tried it, and I come from the back room and I'm sloppy, like I'm slurring my words and I'm stumbling and the whole nine. So you know they realize I'm drunk, but it seemed like it was more so kind of like one of those things where you just kind of laugh it off type thing for them, to where like it was almost like a joke kind of. But I feel like that was really one of the signs. So it kind of seemed like it was just like one of those laugh it off type things for them. But that was definitely like a cry for help. I didn't know it was a cry for help at that time, but that was definitely a cry for help right there. Especially for me to just let it be known instead of just staying in the back room and going to sleep or something. But let's see. I remember going, and that just added to it too. I went to my girlfriend, like I said, I was on the phone with her whenever it happened, and I feel like I didn't get the comfort or the sense of empathy, sympathy, however you want to say it. I didn't feel like I got that, and it kind of brought me back to a lonelier feeling, just kind of confirming confirming that you like really alone in this. Like you have to figure this out or not figure it out or whatever. Either way, you're by yourself in this and nobody really cares. It just is what it is. Like, let it go. Like nobody really cares about it. And it was just, like I said, it added to that hardening of that exterior, trying to shield myself from all of the stuff that I was feeling. But it was just too much. It was just way too much. And so I feel like I said, within a year or so of that is when I finally, okay. And so before that, so now fast forward a little bit, we had an evacuation for the hurricane. Yeah, we evacuated for the hurricane. We come back from evacuation. I went and stayed in Monroe for like 2 or 3 weeks while we had evacuated for Hurricane Rita. And so when we come back, I'm still like doing all of this foolish stuff at Barb and all this other stuff. They eventually got tired of it. So I ended up getting not only kicked out of Barb, they was putting me up for expulsion. And it was crazy because, like I said, I didn't even mention that. At this time, it's kind of where I'm starting to see how, I guess, God's hand was at work in my life. I wasn't acknowledging it, I guess. I wasn't acknowledging it in that capacity, but I was noticing just like certain little instances, I can't explain why things are going the way that they're going repeatedly. Like it's not just a one-off thing. It's like always just this is something where I can see that, or I feel that it's like some other power at work. Because like I said, I did have a religious foundation. I did have a grudge against God at this time. But like I said, it was a tug of war in my life. Like I was being pulled in those two opposite directions. I was being pulled in the direction of wanting to be heard, but also not wanting to be weak, wanting to be seen as weak, and not wanting to use this as a crutch. And I'm being torn in those two aspects, and I was just being pulled in so many different ways. It's mind-boggling to me at the time. But I'm seeing how I have like this covering over my life. And I remember there being a prayer at my grandmother's house. It was right next to her rocking chair. I read it when I was a kid, and it was something to the effect of, it was found like near the tomb or found near the cross or something like that. And it said, whoever reads this prayer and believes it with all of their heart, they'll be protected from X amount of accidents and illnesses and this, that, and the third. And I remember seeing accidents. I was so young when I was reading this, 7 or 8 years old. I remember seeing accidents. I was like, oh yeah, I'm reading this prayer every day because I don't ever want to be in another car accident. I don't ever want that to happen again. So I'm reading this prayer every day and stuff, and then I feel like that prayer has carried me through life, because sure enough, there's so many just unexplainable events that happen in my life to where there's no way I can believe otherwise than that there's a design, there's a creator, and there's a design. God has a design for my life. So shoot, I got off track again. I know, like I said, I keep bouncing back and forth. I got off track again. Where was I going with it? Heart in the exterior, seeing that happen. Okay, so I'm up for expulsion, right? Before I got up for expulsion, Mr. White, he was an assistant principal. He had been letting me make it. Like, I was skipping class and I got a couple altercations in school, and I got caught with liquor one time on the bus, and he let me make it on that. The police officer let me make it on that. And just all of these little instances where, like, and it's always somebody in my life that is being placed in my life, and they're seeing something in me that I don't see in myself, that I'm unable to see in myself. Like when people call me smart, like I said, I'm kind of like, I just have a good memory. I like to watch History Channel. I like to watch all of this other stuff. I just have a good memory, so I don't really consider being smart. I just remember things. Hey. Oh. Yes. Thank you. All right, you too. So I'm just good at remembering things. That's how I feel about it. Comments about my appearance, I don't believe it. When I look in the mirror, I was seeing flaws. Like, I didn't have very many good thoughts about myself, period, at that point in time. But I always had people placed in my life that like saw something in me, and I also had a lot of spiritually minded people placed in my life. Most of my friends are very, like, they're much more biblically astute than I am. Like I said, I'm starting to see this. I don't recognize it. I can't really acknowledge it or whatever, but I'm seeing these things happening. And Mr. White was letting me make it, but he's the one that's advocating for me to be expelled. He's basically telling me, like, we tired of it. Like, we putting you up for expulsion. And I can't believe it. It's blowing my mind how I'm really the kid that's a straight A student, mannerable, respectful, and now here it is, some kind of way, I'm up for expulsion. I don't even understand it. Like, I can't even understand it at the time. Even though I know that I'm not doing the right things, I can't understand it. How did I end up like this? How did I end up in this position? So, like I said, the school's on the south side of town. Oh, I think Mr. Atkins even talked to me too. Yeah, Mr. Atkins talked to me, the principal of the school, and he's confused because I'm still, even though my grades had slipped, I never failed a class or anything like that. And I'm in all advanced classes, and I'm a year ahead of what I'm supposed to be. So when I'm supposed to be taking English 1, I'm in English 2 already, advanced. And when I'm supposed to be doing geometry, I'm already doing whatever came after geometry. So when they're looking at my stuff, they're like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what's up with this act that you're trying to put on? What's up with this whole quote unquote gangster persona that you're trying to carry about? Like, we can see that, you know, you're a good kid, you're a smart kid, what's going on. But I'm so used to not talking about what was going on with me. I don't even know how to talk about it. And two, it's like, why talk about it? Nobody cares about it. So I just sit there and I'm just taking in what they're saying. I'm not really listening to them because, like I said, I don't think highly of myself, and I don't know why people do think highly of me. So I'm basically telling them, like, I live all the way on the north side of town. I don't have anybody to come get me. Like, I don't have, so Mr. White, he's like, no, I'll take it. It's fine, I'll take it. Like, he was really mad. So we left. We hopped up. I think he had an expedition or something, and we took off. He was bringing me back home. But while we were on the way home, man, he had one of the most stern, like, he was really mad, put it like that. He had a serious talk with me. And he started taking me around town. He had like 10 or 20 rent houses. He was showing me some of his rent houses. He was explaining how, you know, the high school that I was supposed to go to on the north side of town, the reason that it's named the way that it's named is because it's, you know, it's the result of integration or whatever. And he was telling me about how he went to school when it was segregated and how he didn't have this opportunity and that opportunity. He wished that he could take advantage, you know, of the position, of being the position that I was in and take advantage of it, etc., etc. He had a real stern talk with me. Then he took me to the graveyard, took me to the cemetery. And it was his son's grave that he was taking me to. I don't remember the story for sure. I don't want to really get it wrong, but something to the effect of either he had just graduated, he had just made his 18th birthday. It was some, like, it was one of those occasions in his life. It was one of those big occasions in his life. And he had bought his son a sports car. And he got into a car accident. He wound up passing away. And he didn't know that my parents had passed away in a car accident. He didn't know anything about what I had went through or anything like that. So I thought it was kind of like a big coincidence that he was talking to, he had brought me here and that his son had passed in a car accident. I peeped it. Like I said, God is working through people the whole time. The whole time when I'm pulling away from him, he's like pulling towards me and he's trying to get me to pull. He's pulling back at me. Like I said, it's a tug of war right now. Between my mind, my heart, my spirit, everything. It's a tug of war just across all aspects of anything that you can think of. So he's telling me about the car accident and all this other stuff, and he's telling me I need to get it together, etc., etc. Long story short, so he dropped me off to my grandparents' house, and they're wondering why I'm home so early. I think it was around lunchtime. So I had to tell them, like, I'm up for exposure. And I remember the look on their face. They were so disappointed, man. They were so disappointed in me when they heard that. And despite how I was feeling, it did kind of mess me up. I did kind of, you know, I felt bad that I had disappointed them that bad. But it comes time for the expulsion hearing. And it's this short little angry leprechaun, but a power lifter, just he's yoked, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a short, little, angry, intense man. Mr. Ledoux or Mr. Leloup or something like that. And he's in my face with it. He's looked up all my stuff, and he's like, what, I can't say everything he was saying, because he was speaking real crazy. But basically he was saying, you know, what's wrong with you? Like, I can tell that you're not what you're trying to portray. And he was like, you have a good family that's here, they're concerned about you, and you're doing all of this nonsense. I can see you're a good kid, all this other stuff like that, but he was real intense with it, right? And then the phone rings, and he goes and answers the phone, and I'm not paying attention to what he's talking about on the phone. I'm just sitting there kind of low-key embarrassed in front of my aunt and my grandparents, but at the same time, like I said, I really just don't care. Like, this is far from the worst that can happen. And he comes back from being on the phone and he slams his hand on the table just hard as hell, and he was like, you know who that was? He's like, that was Mr. Atkins checking on you. And he was like, I've been doing this for almost 20 years. He said he ain't never called for nobody to check on them during the expulsion hearing. He was like, something's got to change with you. He was like, this makes no sense whatsoever. The mind that you're wasting, and however I guess people were seeing me and the classes that I was taking, I don't know. He was basically just saying like, it's ridiculous. There's no way that you're supposed to be doing this type of stuff. He said, I'm not going to expel you. He was like, I'm sending you back to your end zone school. And sure enough, he sent me to Washington Marion. So I get to Washington Marion, and it's like I'm kind of going back to the same stuff that I had left from when I was at Molo, but not really the same stuff that I left from, because things have changed. Like, I'm not the same Morris that left in 8th grade and is coming back. I don't know if it was my 10th grade year or my 11th grade year. It had to be the end of my 506. So it was in the middle of my junior year. But so I'm not the same Morris, like I said, that left from Molo. Now it's, you know, it's different. I'm still, like I said, I'm not making the best grades that I can make. I'm making C's and D's, and that's not normal for me. But, you know, I'm not caring about much of anything. When I'm at school, I don't really care about much. I'm really kind of just going to school at this point because Johnny has graduated. Did Johnny graduate? No, he graduated into the next year. Yeah, so I'm kind of just doing my own thing. Like, I don't really care about much or whatever. But get to Washington Marion. Let's see. Like I said, I'm still doing the same kind of foolishness and all of that. I want to say maybe within a month of me being at Washington Marion, like I have my moment where like I kind of lose it. I go off the deep end, and the situation that occurred that made me finally like click, finally jump over that ledge. I was at my grandmother's house. I was at home, and I wanted to smoke. So my grandmother, like, you couldn't be awake whenever she was up, whenever she was in bed. So she would lock the house down. Like, you couldn't even go outside. She would like lock us in the house, which was crazy now that I think about it. And I don't know. I know it sounds weird, but I'm saying like we couldn't get to the exits of the house, I guess you would say. Anyway, so I had to sneak out. I had to sneak out the window. And they had like lattice stuff put lattice wood in front of my window because I had been sneaking out so much and all of that. So I slip out through the lattice wood or whatever. And I'm not even trying to go nowhere. I just sit on the porch and I smoke. And for whatever reason, this particular one, I was 10 times more lifted than I had ever been since I had started smoking. I don't know why, because at this point, you know, I'm smoking multiple times a day and I'm taking solo missions. Like, there's no reason that I should be this lifted at this time. And so I finish it and I sneak back into the house, and I didn't really sneak back into the house. Like, I made a lot of noise. And my grandmother's a light sleeper. So I'm like, I know she heard that. I know she's about to wake up. It's about to be something or whatever. But she never came to the room. So I'm like, that's weird. You know what I'm saying? That's strange. So now I'm kind of a little concerned. So I go to her room and I slowly open up the door and I look inside her room, and she's still laying down sleeping. Peaceful. So I'm like, all right. I pass by my little brother's room. He's still laying down in his bed sleeping, peaceful. And me and my little brother at this point, now I'm kind of starting to get along a little bit better with my little brother. It's still, you know, a typical, I guess you would say, big brother, little brother relationship. But I'm not being as mean as I've been to him as I used to be. So I pass by his room, I see him, he's still sleeping and all of that. And instantly, I was just overcome with this overwhelming sense of guilt. Because at this point in time, like, my family is starting to kind of like pull away from it. cousins, aunts, and uncles and stuff. Whereas this whole time they had been trying to like build that relationship with me. I had put up so much resistance by this time. I had been pushed back so much, and I done started, you know, straying so far that they kind of just started like pulling back from me. I have an aunt and an uncle that used to pick us up every Friday night, me and my little brother, to give my grandparents a break. We'd go spend the night with them, and they'll take us to do stuff. We'll go out to. That was the only time we really ever got to do anything or go anywhere, was with them. They'll take us, you know, to the mall, or we go out to eat, and they'll take us on jobs with him. He was a business owner. Take us out on jobs with him, and you know, they spent time with us and stuff. But they even started kind of pulling back from it. And so, but the whole time they had been telling me that, like, you know, your little brother is watching everything that you're doing. You don't want to be leading your little brother down this path. He's gonna want to be like you. And I'm not really hearing it. Like I said, I don't really care about much that I'm being told, but that was a part of it. And another part of it was, after Steve passed away, I was the next most capable of defending the house if something was to happen. And they let me know that, really, like, you know, if something is to happen, you can't be sneaking out the house like that. Your grandmother doesn't know you're in the house. If something is to happen, you're the person that has to be there to either defend or assist or help, whatever the case might be, whatever situation might come up, you have to be there. Like, your grandfather, he's blind, he's living in the house, in his own house. Steve isn't here anymore. You know, your aunts are older and stuff. Like, you're the person. So, like, this overwhelming sense of guilt, like, completely just took over me. And it was the most overwhelming, just overbearing pressure that I felt ever in my life. And I know at this point, people are going to say that I was going through a panic attack. And I understand that. It definitely sounds exactly like a panic attack. If that's what we want to label it, that's fine. I know what I felt. There was a presence there while I was feeling that overwhelming sense of guilt. And I've never had that happen again since that happened. That happened, I was 15 years old. It's never happened since then. It's never happened since then. Or maybe I was 16. I was 15 or 16 years old. Either way, it's never happened since then. And I know that there was a presence along with that overwhelming feeling of guilt and shame, and it was overwhelming. So I'm in my room, I'm laying down. I get into bed, I'm laying down, and it's this ringing in my ears. It's just deafening. Like, I forgot what the medical condition is called, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It feels like it was just a deafening ringing in my ear. And like I said, it's just an overwhelming feeling. I'm in the bed laying on my back. At this point now, I'm starting to cry. Like, I'm starting to tear up, and there's tears running down my face right now. I start praying, because that's how intense it is. I start praying. I'm like, you know, Lord, forgive me. Lord, please take this away. Whatever this is, please take this away. Just trying to pray it away, saying the Our Father, and just trying to pray it away, but it wasn't working. Next thing I know, I hear accept me and prosper, or reject me and perish. And it went off 3 times. Accept me and prosper, reject me and perish. Accept me and prosper, reject me and perish. And like, I'm terrified, because it's like I can hear this voice in the room. And I feel like God is mad that I'm not praying on my knees. So I roll out the bed and I hit my knees and I start praying harder, start praying even harder. At this point too, I'm bawling. I'm crying like a teenage girl right now. And so that wasn't working either. The next thing that I knew to do is to go to my grandfather. My grandfather was a healer. He would pray for people. They'll come to him and they have ailments, they have, you know, sickness or whatever, and he would pray for them. He'll pray over their body. And a lot of times I've seen where, like, they got better. And this is after they've tried things. They're going to doctors, they're taking medicines and stuff, and they've gotten better. So the next thing I knew is to call my grandfather. So I get on the phone. I'm crying. Like I said, I'm not even quiet with it. I'm crying. I get on the phone with him and I'm just apologizing. I'm like, well, Paul, I'm sorry. I was like, please forgive me. I'm sorry for everything I put y'all through. I'm sorry for all the dumb stuff that I've been doing. I'm just sorry. Like, I'm just letting it all out on him. You know what I'm saying? And my grandfather was a strong man. I'm talking about a strong man. Even through his blindness, he never stopped. He could cook for himself. My grandmother would wash his clothes, but for the most part, he would take care of himself. Like I said, he was living in a house by himself. And just a strong man. His voice never shook. It never wavered. The first thing that my grandfather said was, "Oh my God, Lamorris, what did you do?" And right in that moment, hearing his voice waver, that was the first time that I heard a father talking to his son. I heard the love of a father for his son whenever his voice wavered like that. But I'm bawling, crying. I'm hysterical. I'm like, I can't be consoled at this point. This presence that I'm feeling, this overwhelming feeling of guilt, is just like, it's taking completely over me, and I'm pretty much paralyzed. So my grandmother comes out the room, and she's mad because I'm supposed to be in the bed. She doesn't like for us to be up. We don't have TVs in our rooms. Not supposed to be on the phone for sure. And it's a problem she's been having with me for a while now, because I'm trying to talk to my girlfriend at night. I don't want to be the guy at school that has to, like, my literal bedtime with them was 8:30 at night, 9 o'clock on weekends, up until high school. I didn't want to be the guy that couldn't be on the phone. Even when I could get on the phone, like, I had to be off. I had a 5-minute time limit. And I'm like, can't talk about nothing in 5. But anyway, I'm not supposed to be on the phone. She's mad. She's fussing. And I'm like, well, Mom, I'm on the phone with Papa, and I'm crying. You know what I'm saying? She's still fussing. I'm like, I'm on the phone with Papa. And then she kept on going, and I said, I don't know why I said it. I didn't have any ideations, but it was just in the moment, and I was under so much I felt like duress. And I shouted, I said, y'all not gonna be happy until I do something to myself. And she went silent, and she turned around and she went in her room. And so I'm asking my grandfather to pray for me. He prayed with me. And then he basically tells me, get off the phone, go in your room, lay down and stuff. And I went in the room, man, and I cried and I cried and I cried. And then I, eventually fell asleep. But I woke up the next day feeling I was so depressed. I was like at rock bottom. That was my rock bottom. Like, I was depressed. I remember when I was younger, my Uncle Earl basically telling me, like, he noticed that I walk around looking at the ground. He was like, why do you walk around looking at the ground like that? Your shoulders hanging and stuff. And it's because I was an insecure kid. I was hyper aware of death. I had all of this stuff inside of me, and I was going through all of this stuff, like from the picture to all this stuff. I was kind of a messed up kid. He was like, you need to walk with your head up and your chest out and your shoulders back. And I respect, like I said, I've always respected my Uncle Earl. No matter how much, like, negative stuff was said about him, and I know it infuriated a lot of my family, I always had a lot of respect for my Uncle Earl. And when he told me that, I started applying that to my life, right? But I couldn't even walk around like that next day. Like, I was depressed. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in class, and it was one of my friends, and she looked at me and she said, Morris, she was like, you look sad. She was like, you look so sad. She was like, I don't like it. She was like, she was really putting the emphasis on how sad that I appeared, and I really was. I was defeated at that point in time. I was, like I said, it was just rock bottom. That was the most depressed day of my life that I've ever felt, ever in my life. And I felt like I had a gray cloud over me, like in the cartoons. And even that night, I think I had to work that day. Or I don't know. I know I was in the back seat with one of my homeboys. We was all riding around. I was in the back seat, and one of my homeboys looked over at me. And he was like, "Mo," he was like, "Man," he was like, "You gotta stop tripping." He was like, "You gotta shake back." He was like, "You out of it." And everybody was noticing now, right? Now everybody was noticing that like I really was going through something, and that this ain't the normal Lamorris, and just basically noticing that something is up. And like I said, I'm so conflicted at the time that I want people to know, but I don't want people to know because I feel weak. It's no secret, as men, as boys, even from little boys, we're taught that you can't cry about it. You gotta, you have to man up. That's what they tell us. Man up. And I don't think I was ever verbally told that, but that's basically what it was. Like, you're a man, you gotta suck that up, and you just gotta take it on the chin and keep on going with it. So I didn't want to appear weak, and it was just, I couldn't hide it no more. I couldn't hide it anymore. I had reached my capacity. It was just bad. And so the next day, I'm getting ready for school. My grandmother tells me that I have a doctor's appointment later on, like at 8 o'clock or something like that. Basically telling me to keep on getting ready, because we're gonna drop you off to school afterwards. So I didn't think anything of it. I went with them, and even when we pulled up to the hospital, I didn't think anything of it, knowing that our doctor was, he had his own office and stuff. I was like, maybe it's just something different, something, I did like have the heart issues and stuff. So maybe it was another stress test or whatever it was. So we're sitting there, and the nurse comes in and she does all, takes my vitals and all of that. And then she mentioned something about me staying, and that's when it clicked. I was like, oh man, I was like, they're about to have me put, in the children's psychiatric unit. I'm like, damn. I'm like, no, I'm not staying here. I'm not staying here. So I didn't say nothing while the nurse was in there. I just kept it quiet. But as soon as she stepped out, I told my grandmother. I'm like, I was like, so y'all, I'm about to be staying here? I'm about to be staying up in here? And she was like, yeah. She was like, you need help? And I was like, I'm not staying. I was like, I'm about to take off. I was like, I'm about to take off. I'm going to leave. And just like with my grandfather, God is good, man. God is good. Just like with my grandfather. She looked me in my eyes and she said, Morris, please don't do that. And I felt that a mother's love that she has for her son. I heard it in her voice. I seen it in her eyes. And I melted. Like, I really, like it was, that's what I had been, oh man. Like when I got that, man. Oh. It felt good. It felt good. And I couldn't, I had every intention of leaving, and I couldn't leave. Because I knew she loved me. I could hear it. I felt it. They were concerned for me. They cared for me. And so I went, I went through with it. 3 weeks on the children's psychiatric unit. And like I said, there's always people that just gravitate towards me, and like they see things in myself that I'm incapable of seeing at the time. And there's always somebody that he's working through, that God is working through in my life. And the counselors, they knew it, the text, they recognized it, I guess, and people are like trying to talk to me, and trying to figure out what's up, and I'm still like, I think that's why I was in there so long, because I refused to talk. Like I was just acting like I was good. I was just, but you know, they wasn't gonna, you know, let up until they got to the nitty gritty of it or whatever. But I remember we were doing like a group session, group therapy session, whatever. It was just like trivia or whatever. But I love trivia. Like I said, I was the kid. I would watch cartoons, but I spent a lot of time watching History Channel, Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, National Geographic, all of those types of things. I loved learning about like different cultures, history, science, space. You know, definitely. I guess they call it a blurred now, right? But so I loved it. I'm answering the questions like it's nothing or whatever. After the session, the counselor comes and pulls me into his office, and he was like, dude, he was like, you are ridiculously smart. He was like, I didn't know the answers to most of those questions. Like, how did you, like, what's up with this? Same thing like with Mr. Atkins. He was like, what's going on with this act that you're portraying or whatever? And I don't remember what answer I gave him, but he did have words with me and tried to, like, you know, get me to open up. And that's actually when I started opening up, is after that conversation. I wish I remember the specifics of what we talked about. But after that is when I started opening up to all of the rest of the counselors and actually taking the steps, I guess, or being open to taking the steps that they were giving me to, you know, starting to feel better. So, and even though, like, I gotta go back a little bit, even though I did feel that connection with my grandparents, in those moments, I really did. Like, that was the moments when I could tell that I was my grandfather's son and I was my grandmother's son. Like, I felt that love. I felt that fatherly love. I felt that motherly love in those exchanges. But I'm not saying that it just changed overnight to where, like, you know, I'm just open to receiving it, because they show love in a different way than what I'm hoping to, in a different way than I'm hoping to receive it, right? So I still kind of get used to that or whatever. So throughout the whole little time, like, they never came and visited me. I didn't get any phone calls. Oh no, maybe I did get a phone call, but nobody ever came and visited me. I felt kind of, you know, I felt mad that my aunts, you know, didn't see that it might be important enough for me to have visitation. Everybody else was having visitation. I was the only one that never had anybody up there. And so we would have days where they would come and we would talk, I guess, about the progress and trying to get them to open up. And this is when I'm starting to be able to, like, really verbalize myself and really kind of not all the way get out what I need to get out, but I'm starting to be able to get it out. And I tell them, like, you know, I feel like y'all don't care about me. I feel like y'all just threw me up in here and y'all left me in there, and everybody else, family, come and see them, and nobody coming to see me. I was like, that make me, it feels messed up. And, you know, I feel like if, I don't want to say that because I don't want to bring that back, but I feel like, you know, y'all don't care about me. So I asked my grandmother, I'm like, I've been out of school for like 2 weeks at this point. I'm like, anybody been calling? Has anybody tried to check on me? You know, worried about if my girlfriend had called or whatever. And she was like, yeah, people been calling. She was like, I told them he was in the hospital. And I'm thinking she told them that I was in the psychiatric unit. And I'm like, why would you do that? I was like, bro, I was like, this is what I'm talking about. I was like, that's embarrassing. Like, people don't need to know what I'm going through, what's going on over there. And she was just like, well, it's the truth. And like, I love that woman, bro. She was just, man, I wish everybody could have gotten to meet my grandmother. But yeah, so I'm opening up. They start putting me on medications, and the medicine had me so irritable, and it just completely the opposite of what I was trying to do now. Even though I did, once I got out the hospital, it was still like a long road to recovery, obviously. It wasn't just gonna change overnight. And I didn't exactly just make the switch, like just post haste, I guess you would say. I took some time because I had dug myself into a hole, like put myself in that environment and doing the things that I was doing. Like, I had put myself into a hole that I was gonna have to take some time to dig myself out of, and to like rebuild the trust with them and the whole nine. I remember thinking the literal thought, like, man, it's gonna take a lot, but it's worth it. I felt like it was worth it. Even to the point, like, before I went into the hospital, maybe like, shoot, it couldn't even been a week. Somebody, I don't know how to say it for social media, somebody let me borrow something and they were expecting compensation for it, right? They were expecting a return on that. And my grandmother told me, yeah, it was like, this guy had been calling for you, and he showed up to the house one day looking for you and all this other stuff. Well, I didn't know she knew, I don't think she knew it was him, but she was like, another guy, somebody showed up looking for you one day while you were in the hospital or whatever. And I'm just like, well, he showed up to my grandparents' house, so now I feel like I didn't put them in jeopardy. So I called the dude, and I'm trying to tell him what happened, and he old ignorant. He's like, yeah, whatever, trying to brush it, trying to brush me off or whatever. So now I'm like, I don't know what's about to happen with this situation. It was a lot. Like, I had to dig myself out of the hole that I had dug, and it took time. Like, it wasn't just an overnight thing. I started knuckling down on my grades, trying to get my grades tight, and that was insane. I was just passing through high school. Like I said, I never failed a class, but I was just like, wake up. I would be sleeping, I'd wake up, take a test, pass the test, and that's how I passed through school. I didn't do a research paper or anything like that, so I kind of like bombed high school. But I try to make my grades back right and all of that, make sure that I graduate, because I had lost sight of all of that. Took the ACT, made a 24 on the ACT, had never took a practice test. I didn't have a calculator. I was lifted, and I graduated with a 1.75. Like, that's the foolishness that I had brought upon myself, I guess you would say. So it was kind of tough, and I'm still not exactly 100% doing what I'm supposed to do, but now I am more open to it. Now, instead of like the thinking that I had before, like God has a grudge against me and I'm cursed and all this other stuff, I'm starting to kind of starting to view it in the lens of Uncle Earl, and how there has to be a purpose. Like, okay, so I'm going through all of this, and this, that, and the third. People seem to think I'm strong at this point in my life, even though like I just got a psychiatric unit. I'm so good, I guess, at hiding it that like people are starting to tell me like how they admire my strength when they hear about what I went through, or at least the car accident, how they admire my strength and they don't know how they could have done it and this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, I can't receive that, because I don't feel like I know what I'm doing in the background. I know what's going on in the background, and I know it's not what y'all think it is. I know the thoughts that I'm having. I know what I'm feeling like. I'm collapsing. Not collapsing anymore, but before the psychiatric unit and all of that, I'm collapsing on the inside. But for whatever reason, y'all seem to think that I'm so strong and all of this other stuff. It was weird to me. But now that I'm out of the psychiatric unit, I'm starting to kind of think like, okay, so what's the purpose? Like, I'm here for a reason. What is it? Is it to just be in pain, or like, I'm more open to it now, right? And obviously with my grandmother, my grandfather, I'm definitely super focused on trying to restore that relationship. That's like the number one most important thing to me at that point in time, is restoring that relationship. So as well as the relationship with my little brother. So that's what I'm working on at that point in time. Just getting back on the right track, slowly but surely. Get back on the right track with them, but slowly but surely, like trying to get out of the stuff that I've been doing. But I didn't really do such a good job with that for a few years after high school. Yeah, so like I graduate or whatever, and now it's like the mission to, so like I said, my grandparents are getting older at this point. My grandfather was like 61 or 62. He was born in 32. So 95 would have been what, 63. So he was about 63 years old. My grandmother was about 61 years old when they got us. This is 10, 12 years later. So they're in their 70s. They're getting older and stuff. So now I'm like catering to them more. And like I said, trying to make them proud. It's a transition now from focusing on the death of my parents to like building that parent relationship with my grandparents, I guess you would say. I'm not cognizant of it, but that's kind of like the moment, the shift where I kind of like let go of the desire for my parents and what was with them. And now I'm starting to appreciate or starting to realize what I have in front of me, that I do have a parental relationship. It might not be in the way that I want, but I do have that there. So I'm focusing on trying to work on that. And yeah, trying to honor that, because I do know, that their time here is limited, and eventually, they do pass. And that's another chapter of my life that I had to deal with. Basically losing my parents twice. I lost my parents when I was a kid, and then as the story goes on, that's what, I go through next. So that'll be the next story. Like I said, I don't really have a whole lot of time every day to get this stuff out. And I'm doing it kind of freestyle off the top of the head. So like I said, I'm sorry for all the gibberish and bouncing back and forth, and I might kind of like get boring at times, but I'm doing my best. I'm sorry. I feel compelled. This has been a seed that's been planted in my mind since I was a kid, that this message is going to help somebody, and this is something that I got to do. And I feel like that is true. I feel like a lot of what I went through is to be a representation of what God can do in our lives and what the love that God has for us. It's never been clear to me. So thank you again. I'll be back with a part 4 as soon as I can. I'm trying to make it as close to each other as possible, but like I said, I am working. So like I said, I do really just want to thank everybody for paying attention this whole time, and I feel blessed and really honored that I am able to help people, that people are reaching out to me and, thanking me for what I've said thus far, despite how I feel like I'm just rambling and I'm not making any sense. Something is happening here, and I feel good about it. Yesterday was the 4th of July, and I had a very fulfilled day. I had a very blessed, fulfilled day. I popped firecrackers with my kids and my little cousins, and spent time with family, and I was giving stories about my mom, and it's just, 30 years later, that little kid that was in the middle of the highway, in the middle of a thunderstorm with bodies all around him, is here today. I'm helping people. I've got love. I've got health. I've got friendships. I'm blessed. I'm like how they say, my cup runneth over. My cup runneth over. I'm just truly blessed. Like that 30-year mark, it was really something. I have a deep appreciation for everything that I've been through in my life, and I really took that day back yesterday, I feel like. And I had let that day go a long time ago. For the past like almost 10 years maybe, like the day hasn't affected me as much as it used to. Because like I said, my grandparents were my parents now. Like, I only have but a handful of memories with my mom and my dad, my biological parents. I don't know my mom's favorite perfume, favorite TV show, favorite food. I don't remember, like I have one video of us together and she's like interacting and she's doing sign language and stuff. I don't have any memories of her. I've just got a handful of memories of her. I really don't even know who she was. I don't know who the person was. I don't know her personality, anything like that. I'm very thankful. Like I said, I received some stories about her yesterday that kind of like, made me feel a deeper appreciation for who she was. But And same with my dad. I don't know very much about him. It was very strange growing up. They didn't talk about my mom a whole lot. They never talked about my mom. And that's on everything I love. Like, I can think of maybe 2 times somebody said something about my mom. I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with my dad's side of the family, so I never really got many stories about him. So, like, I'm not, it's gonna sound bad, I'm not burdened with that, with that longing or that missing or that. I know my grandparents. I know their personality type. I know them. They were my parents. They raised me. So like the 4th of July hasn't been a big deal for me for a while. A few years, like the day came and passed, and I didn't even think about the events that had happened. So I'm at a blessed place in my life, and I thank God for that. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing. So I'll try to wrap up the story in the next video. I think that I'll be able to wrap it up in the next video. So one more video after this. I'm thankful for y'all, sticking around this whole time. And I will be back as soon as possible with that video. So y'all be blessed.